going to Sean Stone. Sean, it's really great to have you on. Thanks for coming on the broadcast.
Lineup. I know some of those guys like John Rappaport, Jim Webster Tarpley, and David Icke and whatnot, so it sounds exciting.
Well, it's good to have you, buddy. How's the family doing?
Everyone's good. You know, everyone's working hard. My dad has a new series coming out, a TV series called The Untold History of the United States that airs November 15, around there on Showtime. And actually that would be interesting to check out because he doesn't maybe go entirely into like the full origin of the empire, but he definitely talks about where this American military imperial complex comes from at the end of the Second World War, the beginning of the Cold War. And so it's a 10-part series, and he deconstructs a lot of the myths about our history that we're taught in schools. And so I think it's a very important series for everyone to watch and to think twice about what we're being taught, and it'll get us to the present day.
Are you kidding? I mean, I should have brought that up. I remember a couple of years ago when he started this, that the establishment tried to go after him because he said Hitler's a bad guy, but you're going to get the rest of the story, which we all know is that the West actually funded him. I mean, I'm just guessing because I know your dad will follow reality. And it's good to see him get back to his roots. He's done so many avant-garde, hardest-hitting historical films that really changed the landscape of the world, like JFK and others. Natural Born Killers is a commentary on TV. When I was young and saw it, I thought it was just violent. I didn't get. Now that I've seen it again, it's a total commentary on how they are basting us in violence to destroy our minds. And then he's done some other films that are entertaining but haven't been as political. I'm very excited about that coming. And, you know, I've never asked you this, but I'll ask it on air. Maybe you can get your dad to come on right before that series comes out with you, because I would love to talk about that. I
will ask them to do it. I'll ask. You know, a lot obviously has to do with the PR, who's running the PR. But if they're open to it, of course, it'd be great to have him on. And he'll talk about, you know, it's been a 4-year journey for him. I worked with him as an editor on it for about 1 year of those 4 years. So you can imagine it's a tremendous undertaking. But history is tough. You know, you want to get it right. And he's also got a book that's being published in conjunction with the films. So it's Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States with Peter Kuznick as the co-author. Kuznick is an American University history professor. So the two of them are issuing the book simultaneously.
Well, wild horses couldn't drag me away. In fact, yeah, time compresses. It was 4 years ago they attacked him. Seems like 5 minutes ago. Briefly, before we get into the new TV show, some of the other things you're working on, your take on Iran and the fact that they're now cutting them off cable and satellite in Europe. They haven't done that before. That means, you know, the 3 aircraft carriers are lining up. This could be the big one. Sean Stone joins us. Son of Oliver Stone, filmmaker in his own right, and really a powerful contributor, co-host, co-guide in the new Jesse Ventura, Sean Stone, Tyrell Ventura show coming out. What is it, November 7th? But let's get back into that. Going from memory, I mean, give us a sneak peek, as much as you can tell us about your dad, that you also worked on, some of the things that are covered.
You know, an important point that it's the point of departure is really that FDR's death at the end of the Second World War, and the fact that Henry Wallace, who was his vice president until '44, when the Democratic bosses, party bosses, basically forced Truman in at this convention, and it's very conspiratorial the way that it was done to get Truman to become the vice president. So when FDR dies, Truman takes over, and he puts us in this trajectory, which is to ally with the British Empire. And that was not FDR's policy. FDR was very much steering the road between the Russians and the British, weary of both, but able to handle Stalin, and Stalin trusted him fundamentally. So, you know, we never were supposed to follow this British imperial Cold War policy of fighting the Russians, so-called. And, you know, the point of departure for the series is the dropping of the atomic bomb was the first shot of the Cold War, as a warning to the Russians not to intervene in the Japanese theater, and not to basically challenge the West in any kind of traditional form of combat. So it's, you know, it begins there, and then it goes through this whole expansion of the military-industrial complex, the insane proportions that we're at now. You know, over 60% of our fiscal year budgets are, you know, devoted to military purposes and expenditures. And so he just talks about how this escalation has completely bankrupted us, you know, as well as why, you know, the motivation for it.
Now, memory blurs, and then we'll get off this subject, but I am intrigued by it because I remember going, wow, like 4 years ago, oh, they're going to make this series. Wow, that'll be really powerful because Oliver Stone does amazing research with his team. But I remember that criticism when he said, yeah, Hitler was bad, but, you know, we're going to tell the rest of the story. And the media seemed real scared by that and tried to spin it. But I know the real history, so I'm guessing you guys went there. But it's on record British intelligence and others funded Hitler. They didn't really control him, but they funded him knowing he would wreck things so they could pose as saviors. I mean, is that covered in the series?
It should be part of it. I mean, it was at the time that I was working on it. I'm not sure to what extent, you know, each episode obviously has to have a narrative and covers a lot of ground. So I'm not sure how much detail they get into, but definitely it talks about especially the American bankers, financiers that were involved in the rise of the Nazi Party. And also, you know, the fact that FDR really was opposed to that faction and, you know, investigating them, especially the Rockefellers, people like this, you know, he's constantly...
Sure, the McCormick-Dickstein Committee. I mean, this is all on record, just nobody knows it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
it's not like it's your dad's opinion. I mean, it's, you know...
No, exactly. And the point is Anthony Sutton wrote about it, and then you had guys like Loftus, John Loftus, and then Ahrens with their books, The Secret War Against the Jews, talk about this stuff. So people who know that era understood that FDR was very much anti-Nazi, but also very suspicious of the British Empire, and told his son, this is one of the big contributions I made to the series, was to get my dad to look at the Elliot Roosevelt, who's FDR's son, a confidant of his, to look at his book where the father tells his son, the British are going to be our big problem after the war. Because the empire that they have, you know, why do we talk about the Russian Empire? The Cold War is about the Russian Empire, which is nothing compared to the British Empire at the end of the Second World War. The British and French Empire controls over a quarter of the globe, and they're saying we have to fight the Russians over Poland. I mean, this, you know, what kind of propaganda are you dealing with? And we still believe this in our history books, that we're fighting the Russians over Poland, and the British and the French control over a quarter of the world, of the planet, as colonies. So you see, that's the kind of subject matter that he gets into in the series.
All right, well, I didn't mean to digress into that, but it's absolutely intriguing. So your dad's TV show's coming out right around the same time your TV show's coming out. Now, obviously, you know, they had 2 series before, two seasons. I was in those. Very excited to hear that you were one of the main, you know, reporters in the new one. Had a great time working with you guys. Very exciting and informative topics. But then for 9 months, the edit gets disappeared. I mean, what really happened there, and do you have any inside baseball on what to expect?
I don't have any idea how they cut this series, to be honest. It really was cut and recut, and the storylines kept being reformulated. I'm not quite sure why I have the series. You know, the season's going to be exciting because we take it into a little bit more of the X-Files, the supernatural realm. You know, we deal with things like Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, which we visited, and we delve into the reptilian story with, you know, David Icke appearing. We delve into time travel and other, you know, much more mysterious side of the overall conspiracy. And so that, you know, that's part of the reason why I was brought on. And then, as you said, there's 9 months that elapsed, and frankly, for the most part, we didn't even know if they were going to air the series. They were consistently putting new guys on the show as showrunners, you know, producers. So at the end of the day, we'll see how they cut it, and we'll see what comes out from it. But hopefully, you know, you get people will get a taste into our investigation, which is very difficult to prove. I mean, once you start entering that supernatural realm of reptilians and fourth dimensional existence, and, you know, the base at Dulce, which is an underground base. I mean, how do you access that thing? You know, first of all, how do you prove it's there, and then how do you access it? So this was a frustration that I felt for sure as a researcher, wanting to always push it to another level, and then obviously being restrained by legality and the danger of you know, breaking.
Sure, and aren't you a Rhodes Scholar, or you went to England, didn't you?
I did go to Oxford for 2 terms, but that was just a transfer student. No, I wasn't.
Well, I was just going from memory here, but I mean, you've told me some pretty interesting stories about that. But I mean, we could do a TV show about you, but you'll never tell, will you?
Well, I'll tell you some things.
Well, you did tell me some things, and you know I won't say, but I sure wish you'd tell us on air. But I never mind.
We have no. I mean, actually, I mean, the essence of what we're talking about, like with the supernatural. Remember, when I came on your show the first time was 2 years ago to talk about Greystone, which was the mental hospital that they used to run MK Ultra programs in that place, and it's abandoned now. And Alex Wraith was my co-star and co-writer of this film, Greystone Park. It's finally out now. Actually, it's out on DVD, on Blu-ray, and on demand on YouTube.
Oh, I want to see that. I mean, you sent us a video today too, and I wasn't sure we'd get to it, but I think we will play that because the elite does believe in the occult, and I've hung out with you quite a bit. You really believe the stuff you've told me privately, and then you told me about some other stuff that I actually know is true. So it's just, I mean, how much of reality do we know about?
A fraction. I was listening to an interview with Madonna with Kurt Loder on MTV back in the 90s, about 96, 97. And she says, there's sorcerers in this room right now. And he kind of like pauses. He's like, where? And she's just like, you only see like less than 1% of reality. Our minds are programmed, neurologically. We're like computers on sleep mode. We pick out patterns, and then we sort of put those patterns into context that's familiar to us. But when it comes to the things that we call supernatural, the apparitions or the sounds and the things that relate to the demonic realm or jinn realm, this is respected in other cultures, and it's obviously known in the Catholic Church, or it's known about in Islam, it's known about in any religious context. But in our materialistic realm, we've forgotten about it. So I've obviously wanted to explore it much more, and I have the last 3 years, and that's Greystone is a film that I think it'll be interesting to watch because we put some initiatory symbols into it, including the all-seeing eye, including the Baphomet goat heads. And I think in the journey, you'll start to see that we do live in a reality that's beyond 3 dimensions.
By the way, one of my friends, Daryl Rundis, he showed me these cards that have like basic text, but then it will take a word out, but you will automatically put the word in yourself when you're reading it, and that's the essence of programming. They know those templates. I've studied the elite as well. They actually are all obsessed with the occult. They want us to be atheists because they want us totally blind to it. They're obsessed with it. They just don't want us to even know it exists.
Exactly, and that's why my job is trying to make a film like Greystone Park and then other films like this is to open up the eye, the third eye, which we all have, so we can all become illuminated in a sense, not the Illuminati point of view of control, but just to awaken our own senses and to become aware that we are living, as David Icke talks about.
Sure, they always create a counterfeit. It's like you can't use any symbol because they've taken it, but those aren't their symbols. Those are God's symbols. Those are universal symbols they've expropriated. We'll be right back with Sean Stone straight ahead. We're going to air this amazing video. Stay with us. We were talking, Sean, even if people, again, don't believe in the occult, the elite does. And, at Bohemian Grove, they've got 4 or 5 different religions: Egyptian, Babylonian, Greek, Roman, Faustian, Druidic, so I guess that's 6, and they compress them all. And some of these modern occultists, kind of kids, they see my documentaries, they go, he's calling it Moloch and then Lilith. How can it be 2 things? They don't get everything with the Illuminati, not just in history, but in what they do is multi-sided, multifaceted, really 3 to 4 to 5 dimensional. But breaking that down, in essence, we're going to play the clip coming up that you've sent us here, an exclusive. What is the Illuminati at its essence? I mean, is it Egyptian?
That's the question, isn't it? As I understand that most of the Western Illuminati is based on more Egyptian practices, Egyptian witchcraft, but not witchcraft. I mean, it's what we call witchcraft. It's their priest caste. Moses was part of that. Remember, Moses was trained by the priests of Egypt, and before he takes his knowledge and creates the modern, Jewish tradition. Then there's the Babylonian, which is basis of Kabbalah, and obviously Abraham comes from that. One of those lines. There's a lot of influence from Babylon in modern day Iran. If you know, having been to Iran, I can tell you there's a lot of magic that's still practiced, whether or not they're conscious of it. You can feel it in the energy of the land.
Well, you've seen it in the news where they're claiming Ahmadinejad is involved in it.
Yeah, I know the Jingir, actually, that they claimed was... The Jingir is the person who connects to jinns, which we call genies or demons or whatnot. But they're not all bad, by the way. And that Jingir told me he does not work with Ahmadinejad, as has been claimed he does. But he does communicate to them, and that's pre-Islamic. It goes back to Zoroastrianism. It goes back to like the Magi, right, of Chaldea. And so the thing is that you're talking about various understandings of a different world. And so from one point of view, it's an alien entity. It's reptilian, for example, maybe. And just another form, it's Lyran or different star systems. Because remember, these entities, in Islam, they call them all jinn. But we know that they have different origins. I mean, if they come from the Pleiades star systems, and they look like Jesus Christ, that can have one formulation. If they look reptilian and they're from the Draconian star system, or they trace themselves to that, we call them reptilians. But the point is that we're in a universe that's alive, a bit like Men in Black, let's say. And that's, I believe it. I've come to believe it. I definitely researched it.
Well, I'll say this. I don't really go there, but occasionally have guests on that do, because you can't prove it one way or the other. I can't get people to admit TSA is running checkpoints on the highways when it's on the news, or that cancer viruses are in almost all the major vaccines when it's a fact, or that they're shooting kids up with vaccines without parental consent, which is illegal. So certainly, but I know this, the elite, every time I get to the final door, they are a bunch of Prometheus. That is Illuminati religion right there. In fact, I want to go to break and get your take. Start now on Prometheus. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you have. But that film, when I saw the script before it came out, that is really what the highest Illuminati believe. I mean, for them, it's interdimensional stuff. Your comment on that?
Yeah. Again, it's so complex, and at the same time, I don't believe the Illuminati are all evil. I don't take it as all Masons are evil and all illuminated Masons or any of these secret societies. It's not all evil. I think there's a higher agenda at play, and there's a higher order, and it's up to us, every human being, to start to wake up your third eye, your inner third eye, to see beyond the illusions that are being played, because otherwise we're being played as puppets, and we're playing into the drama. Only when we demand our own authenticity and to know beyond what they are showing us.
Now continuing, we're talking to Sean Stone, film producer, film editor, TV host, TV investigative reporter with the new Jesse Ventura Conspiracy Theory show. He's one of the co-stars of it. I was honored to be involved, and I haven't even asked him. I think I'm in 3 or 4 of the 8 episodes coming up. I was on big Discovery Channel show, Inside Conspiracy Theories, or The Secrets of Secret Societies. I didn't even watch it. Everybody said it was pretty good Sunday night. That's how much I'm into myself. I'm not really proud of that. I just, every time I talk about myself, it feels really weird now. I used to have more of an ego. People think I'm an egomaniac. I'm really an aggressive person who wants freedom. It just feels weird to go. I didn't even watch myself on that TV show, but I'm definitely going to watch this TV show because I like the people that are involved in it. Sean Stone, we've got this clip. Again, I don't normally get into a lot of this stuff, but you say you've been getting harassed and stuff. You're a prominent person, and I would guess that when you get these spoof 666 calls, we've had the NSA call us, and it says NSA, and we call the number back, it is the NSA. But I think that's someone spoofing it. So, what makes you think with the harassment, you and your associate who've now put out this film about Greystone, that this isn't PSYOPs harassing you, sir?
I have no idea that it's not PSYOPs, but that's why I think it's important to put it out, because if it is PSYOPs, it goes to show you what kind of PSYOPs these guys are into. And it's obviously, it is ritualistic. It's not just some pranksters in a basement messing around with this kind of stuff.
Well, before we get to this, what do you make of all these Hollywood people? I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure you know about it, who say that there's a satanic mafia, that the major starlets are under mind control, that there's massive Satanism. We know about the Satanism of the Rolling Stones with a dead kid in their room and didn't get in trouble. It goes on and on, but all these other women coming out saying there's control, and famous male actors running to Canada and saying there's a mafia and they're Satanist. Is that really just a mafia trying to creep people out saying, ooga booga, we're Satanist, wearing a white sheet? Or is there more to it? Because I've talked to some pretty high-powered Hollywood folks. I know you run in even bigger circles, but some of the biggest people out there, and they say, not just with Scientology and stuff, but that there are really weird cults and things out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know if it's not, they don't call themselves Satanists, but of course, when you're in an industry that worships power, and the design, obviously the design of it is to keep people in a position of being consistently in need of the next level of power. So it's essentially a phallically designed system of control.
Isn't it ridiculous? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know who was ultimately behind it, and they're not all bad. There's good people who are doing magic, but as someone told me, recently, he said a lot of these stars that are involved in magic, they believe that they're doing it for the best possible interest, which is to help their creativity, to explore other realms of consciousness, and to try to be a conduit of white magic. But he says they're ultimately being formulated through their involvement in magic into cult-like cells of control, and they're not realizing it necessarily. And I think that is more likely, that people are, who have good intentions or want to do something positive, are just ultimately being manipulated.
Well, take Lady Gaga, Madonna, all of it. Those are all Kabbalic rituals. They admit their rituals. And she's had her own crew go public. It's come out. She thinks she has to have people in the room at all times because ghosts and demons are after her, she believes. Is that mental illness? Well, regardless, she gets into the occult. Now this is happening to her. You know, I mean, for me, that's just a door I don't open, something I don't go into.
That's the only one. Like we said, Madonna talked about it years ago. You had Amy Winehouse talking about how her producer wanted to put her inside of a pyramid on her album cover, and she rejected it. And a week later, she was dead. I mean, she said that publicly in one of the YouTube clips you can look up. And it's just, you know, it's not just them. I mean, you get the multiple personalities claimed by Beyonce and Rihanna's possession activity, weird, you know, acting possessed. And so many of these talented artists, like you're talking about, are showing the indications of MK Ultra control. I mean, what is the whole concept of Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus? They're showing these girls, you can be like, you know, the sex kitten or the good girl. And they're still, you know, you're promoting multiple personalities in these people. It's not like overt, but it's there.
Well, here's an example. Joe Rogan, who's not into the occult, really smart, great guy, longtime friend of mine. He invited me out to a UFC in Las Vegas, and we went to the same pyramid that we, you know, did some interviews there for your TV show, Jesse Ventura's TV show, Tyrell's show. And we go to the bar in the pyramid, and the VIP sections go up like a pyramid themselves. And everyone was just so, just wanting to be at the top of the pyramid with Dana White of UFC and Joe Rogan, and I'm up there. And I was looking down at the people in the different layers of the pyramid, looking up at us at the top of the pyramid, and it was like parrots, you know, cockatoos in Australia that want to, you know, get on the highest perch. It's just ridiculous. And, you know, Joe wasn't even conscious of it. We were just up there drinking beer and stuff, but the other people were. And it was just so ridiculous to be being worshipped because I was sitting on the top of the pyramid. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's why I say, you know, the concept of Illuminati and the rulers being all evil is not true. And Mason's not true. There are many good ones because at the end of the day, it's your spiritual path. That's what you have to choose. It's your choice. You know, do you want to use the powers that you have? It's a Faustian question. You know, do you want to use your powers to serve God, to do what's right? Or do you choose the easy path to manipulate others, to gain worldly goods? And that's the choice every human being faces. So
sure, but I don't even think Dana White and Joe Rogan, that's just the most VIP area is, you know, with 3 or 4 levels, like a pyramid, inside the pyramid, in the bar, you go up steps to the top, you're at the best view of the dance thing. See how it's all designed where people that aren't into this don't see it. And I'm up here going, we're on top of pyramid and everybody's looking up here at us. It was so incredibly obvious that we're inside a giant pyramid with Illuminati stuff everywhere. And I'm here with powerful people on the top of a pyramid. And then, I mean, why do the elites do that? What is the point of a pyramid within a pyramid?
A pyramid within a pyramid? Because there's always a hierarchy. The question really is, can we go from this hierarchical type of control system to something more of a circular reciprocity, a concept of a harmony of interests, you know, which is what I believe is the best order of society. A republic is based on that idea, right? You elect your representatives, they have to answer to you. You know, there's an involvement of the people. There's an education process that has to go on because each of us depends on each other. You know, there's no economy whereby, you know, right now we have an economy of slavery. We basically buy things from China, which is practically slavery, and a lot of the rest of the world that we're buying cheap goods and we're thinking, hey, we're making a lot of money. But you're involving yourself in a system that promotes slavery, and it's forcing down your economic wages for your own work.
Exactly. So many good old boys, very well said. So many good old boys, they think, hey, we're getting it from the slaves in China. Ah, ha, ha. That's sucking everybody down. We're destroying ourselves. Why we abuse those people.
Exactly. And that's why the system as a whole is the pyramid. It's not about the Illuminati being illuminated people. There are illuminated people who are aware of it, but there are those who are just, you know, who are really just feeding into this hierarchical system, who are not conscious enough to wake up. And so the spiritual path is waking people up to realize every one of us is responsible for our destiny. We have to become participants in this world. We have to recognize the problem and start to fix it. We can't simply, you know, hey, sell out and just try to join the club and be at the top of the pyramid, as you said.
Well, that's part of it. As it gets more and more destructive, as the sucking sound intensifies, as people start dying at the bottom, not just living in squalor, then to be in the middle of the pyramid is to be in squalor, whereas before the middle of the pyramid was to be wealthy. And pretty soon, it's a tiny elite in armored redoubts with robots and drones protecting them and just destroyed mayhem road warrior outside. And then they call that Agenda 21 and admit that that Hunger Games scenario is what they're after, French Revolution-style Jacobinism. And then you find out that those at the very top actually are pit of hell, Hellraiser death lovers. I mean, I think that's what it is. And when we're unconscious, we give them the power.
When we're unconscious, we give them the power. As we wake ourselves up, we illuminate ourselves to we become the illuminated ones. We become the Illuminati. We can then challenge their reign, but only when we wake ourselves up.
But some will say, oh my gosh, Sean Stone here is saying join the Illuminati. No, it's a counterfeit. They say be illuminated, but they mean darkness for everybody else but them. But they're still not illuminated, or they would not be trying to hurt people. They are the ultimate victim of their own con. When all illuminated means is you really see the big picture, you're outside the box. You know, there's an interesting thing. When Dark Knight Rises came out, I'd heard that word in my head for some reason, the consciousness 3 years ago, rise. And when I got phone calls over the years, it was always from what they called themselves the fallen angels, right? The fallen who'd fallen with Lucifer to earth and were bound here. And I said to them, rise, you can come back to God. And I think that was a symbol that was being sent out. The Dark Knight rises, right? The Dark Knight are like the fallen angels with the wings, right? And so, but there's always there's a positive side to it, which is that the idea that the fallen can return home to God. And the negative side of it, which is like the Aurora mass shooting, promoting the dark night, which is night itself, as opposed to a golden dawn. There's like a very interesting symbolism going on. So there's a war. Aurora was where the shooting took place around Dark Night. Aurora is the goddess of the dawn. So that's the golden dawn. The Dark Night is the place of the shooting. Oh, so that was clearly a ritual. But take Bane in the first scene, whenever the aircraft is hooked up to the other one, they're about to kill everybody on board. And the minion, he says, minion, you've got to stay here and kill yourself so there's an equal number of bodies. And the guy's happy to be sacrificed. So they're telling you this is a willing sacrifice, you know, the best kind for the dark occultist. And he says, there's a fire coming. Yes. And he says, fire goes up. And again, that's rising. The demons are going up. And then they go up. They go up into the sky. The angels are coming back up. There's a fire coming. Fire goes up. You're absolutely right. That was all a ritual. There's a lot involved in all these things, all these films. You know, you see it in Spider-Man films. You know, the triangles all over the place. The devil sign that he's throwing. The last Spider-Man, the guy thinks he's going to the next level of evolution, becoming a reptoid. Reptilian, of course, yeah. There's all these things that just, you know, it's fun because it's like how the human mind is evolving, and they're planting the messages they want you to think about. And so, as I said, it's time for us to wake ourselves up, to start to listen and really think about what's being shown to us, and conjure an alternative route or a counter. Well, what Bane's saying is hell is rising, hell raising. Yeah. Fire goes up, a hell raising. Yeah, yeah. There is a whole emerging. I mean, it was released on June 20th, which I think was the day of one of the moon landings. It's a very powerful day as far as astrology is concerned. So there was a lot of just a convergence of energies in that day, and I think, you know, we're in 2012. It's been an interesting year, man. I've seen people waking up more and more. They're recognizing karma. They're recognizing the consequence of their actions. So hopefully this is an opening to a more positive era, a realization of us as human beings and respect for each other as human beings, as opposed to becoming more virtual, which is where I think a lot of it's going with the technology side of the Apple and you know, the Mac revolution and whatnot. It's like they want to put us into a virtual reality. And I say, no, we're in a physical reality. Let's treat each other as such, and let's try to elevate our fellow man in a physical context, not just in a virtual context. I agree, and only use the virtual to reach into the matrix and warn people. Indeed. Wow, powerful. Let's play this clip. Now, what is this we're about to hear and see? This is a phone call that Alex and Ray and I received, and we received a string of them from people claiming to be associated with Albert Pike, who was, you know, he was a dead head of the Illuminati from the 19th century, and I think some people say he's still alive because he entered a different dimension, as is Aleister Crowley, apparently still alive, or time traveling or whatnot. But this was a group that was associated with him doing a ritual, calling us to try to basically tap into an energy, because we're working on our next film project, and they're basically trying to tap into the energy that we're creating, which is a positive, cheerful comedy,
of the fist, raising the fist, which is basically the old symbol of revolution and resistance, right? We want people in the streets again. We want to have real characters in film. We want to enliven the spirit, and they're trying to tap into it and create a darker energy around us. And so that's what they did by calling us and doing a ritual. You'll hear this ritual that they're performing. They're trying to basically steer our energy in a different direction, a negative direction.
All right, let's go to that clip. Here it is.
The dark fist rise?
There will be no dark fist rising.
I am not... Oh, man, I know what they are. Cop, watch out, cop.
There will be no dark fist rising.
Oh my god, man. Tony, the dark fist rise. What do you want, demon? What is your name? State your name.
In the name of God, you are banished. You should pray.
I am.
What prayer do you know?
State your name.
Just say a prayer. Focus on the prayer. Focus on a prayer. Focus on a prayer. Focus on a prayer. You're doing a ritual to try to...
State your claim. State your claim. Calling Baal. State your claim, demon.
Baal's not going to come help them. Baal's gone.
All right, and you're showing the phone there because you kept getting these calls, so you videotaped it, and it's a few numbers and then 666, 6666 or whatever. And I mean, somebody could have spoofed that, obviously, but the point is you got weirdos messing with you.
Yeah, but obviously, there's not many people know what we're working on. This is very confidential stuff. So the point is that, I recorded it, and when I put that on Facebook, and I got a phone call from 666 that night from someone claiming he represented Azazel in the other side, and they were very unhappy, and they're probably going to be very unhappy that we aired it. But I think it's important to show that, this is real. This is the kind of stuff that, I've been dealing with for 3 years, and Alex has been dealing with for longer than that. And, people don't want to believe it. That's their choice. But it's our job to try to inform you and inform the public that this is the kind of stuff that goes on. These rituals are real. This is reality. And we have to confront that.
Well, I've been to Bohemian Grove, and people say, oh, that's just a play. Well, that's where religion comes from, is the original rituals were done up on a stage. People are watching. And,
exactly.
I mean, that's...
Films are so important rituals, aren't they? They're just like those plays of old.
Exactly. So they're doing it over and over again, and I was there. Those old men took that deadly serious. I mean, they were really getting off on this. They were taking it very seriously.
They do take it seriously, and that's why, as I said, you can't make a judgment as to and saying that they're purely evil. They are in this video. They talk about Baal. They're worshiping Baal, and historically Baal has been associated with demons, right? But it's pre-Christian, pre-Judaic. So there's an origin to it, and you have to have a respect for these entities that you're dealing with, and we have to inform ourselves and enlighten ourselves. I don't think it helps to just write everything off as demonic, but to just let's start to talk about this, and let's become more informed as to what they're doing and why. Well,
I think Baal's demonic. I think they burn children to it, but it's all pretty wild. All I know is some of this is covered in the new Ventura series that's coming up as well. I mean, not this specifically, but what is it, like 4 of the episodes are more, classic things you can document, and I guess 4, from what I've been told, are kind of, getting off into the Hintner land. But, they did two of the series where they just hit mainstays, not normally media covers all the occult stuff, but puts their own dumbing down spin to it.
Indeed, yeah, the occult has been laughed at, but frankly, more and more it's becoming prominent. I remember the last 10 years, because of YouTube, because of videos, and now you have films like Sinister, who openly talks about Bagul, which is basically a Baal type of creature, right, who feeds on the sacrifices of human children. This is becoming more mainstream. So, 10 years ago, you couldn't talk about the occult in the same way, Alex, that you can do it now, which is, like I said, it's positive in a certain sense. We can become more informed and enlightened about it, but it's negative insofar as we don't want people to then, start practicing these rituals. I'm not trying to tell people go out and practice witchcraft or sorcery. I don't believe in that. I think that God, there's one God. God creates us, and we should worship God, and we should have faith in God's will, and to force your will, which is the Crowleyan dark side of magic, is to impose your will over the will of others, and that leads you to the
no. Instead, we let God work through us for His will. Absolutely, that's the difference. Well, I mean, look at the stuff coming out about Dominique Strauss-Kahn, admittedly in underground grottos in big Eyes Wide Shut orgies. The New York Times described it as Eyes Wide Shut. And this stuff's just coming out in the open. I mean, again, that's all about the will to go in public and have sex with people. It's all about, because that's not really fun. I mean, for normal people, in my view, you know, the whole point is about having the will to go out and do wild stuff like that. And that's just a doorway into deeper things. It's a doorway, as you said, and it indicates certain levels of possession. You know, I've seen it in people who they blank it out. Like, it's like drinking too much. You know, even alcoholics, they don't remember what they're doing. Demon possession is similar. There are doorways that's how they control these. A lot of people, these people, I think, are under control of these entities or whatnot, the dark forces, and they're not always, you know, in control of their own faculties and are aware of it because they've given their soul. And that's the one thing I've always been asked. You know, it's like, give us your soul, and I always say, you know, you can't have it. God, my soul belongs to God. I don't know how I can give you my soul anyway. Only God can give it to you. Well said. Sean Stone, thank you so much for spending time with us. Where can people find out more about the TV show or websites, Facebook, Twitter? So Conspiracy Theory is coming out November 7th. There's a Conspiracy Theory Facebook page. Got a lot of followers, so they should check that out. Like I said, Greystone Park, my feature film, is out on DVD, on Walmart, Blockbuster, and on demand. There's a Facebook page as well for that. And then the next movie, Enter the Fist, which is going to be an action comedy to counter this kind of dark fist nonsense that they want to do, dark night, dark everything. Enter the Fist is going to be an action comedy. It's going to be, good spirit. We have a website for it called fistthemovie.com, and we want to get the fist in the air again. That's the sign now. Like, we want people back in the streets with their fist in the air and being socially conscious and radical, and just we need revolution, and that's the spirit of revolution, not against the republic, but for the republic of the United States. All right, Sean Stone, thank you so much for the time. Maybe we'll cross our fingers and you'll get your daddy on here to talk about his TV show, because I haven't asked you before to try to get him on, but now that his history show is coming out, I'd really love to help him launch that. Thank you so much, Sean Stone. Absolutely, thank you, Alex. All right, there goes Sean Stone. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.